bags lay ripped open on the driveway, my clothes spilling out like garbage under the morning sun. My floral sundress, my favorite, was wedged beneath a cracked boot, dirt streaking its hem. I didn't even cry. "Take a good look," my older sister Megan said from the porch, arms crossed, grinning like it was her birthday. "That's the last dress you'll ever wear in this house." I knelt silently, gathering my clothes while the neighbors watched. Across the street, Mrs. Calloway watered her roses like nothing was happening. But she saw. They all did. Dad stood behind Megan, his voice booming across the yard like a verdict. "You'll never amount to anything, Brielle," he snapped, loud enough for everyone to hear. "No man wants a failure who can't follow simple rules. You think you're too good for this family? You're nothing without us." Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us, what would you do in this situation? Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. My hands trembled. I kept picking up the clothes. Denim, cotton, lace, all mixed with damp grass and crushed leaves. "You're lucky we even let you stay this long," my mother chimed in, stepping out in her robe and slippers. "You had a roof, food, and our patience. You ruined it." I turned, clutching the torn bag, standing barefoot on the hot pavement. My face flushed, not from shame, but from a sudden fierce resolve swelling in my chest. "You said no man would marry me," I replied softly. Dad smirked. "Unless he's blind, drunk, or both." My jaw tightened. "Then maybe you should come outside around 2:15 this afternoon." Megan laughed. "What is it this time? Another fake boyfriend? Please, we've heard that before." "Nope," I said, tossing the bag into my old Toyota's trunk. "But just make sure the lawn's clear." They laughed harder, like it was some skit written for their amusement. I closed the trunk gently, climbed into my dented car, and drove off like I'd done 100 times before. But this time, something had shifted. I didn't cry. I didn't hesitate. And I didn't look back. 2:10 p.m., the lawn. The whole family was outside now. Dad stood with his arms folded, Megan scrolled her phone beside him, and Mom was adjusting her sunglasses like someone important might actually come. "Let's see this billionaire you keep claiming exists," Megan whispered with sarcasm so thick it could slice through concrete. And then the sound came. A deep, thunderous hum echoed over the treetops. Not a helicopter. Not a delivery truck. A sleek white private jet glided low in the sky before disappearing behind the hill. They all turned. Seconds later, the front gate buzzed open. A black SUV rolled in first. Behind it, a stretch limousine. And last, a private Mercedes. Sprinter with dark-tinted glass. A man stepped out. He was tall, effortlessly composed, with the kind of posture that made people pause. Wearing a steel gray blazer, dark jeans, and polished shoes, his presence sliced the air in half. "Brielle?" he called. I stepped out from the passenger side of the limo, my long navy blue dress flowing like silk in the breeze. My hair was pinned back just how he liked it. And in that moment, everything stilled. My father's face dropped. The man walked toward me, reached out, kissed my forehead, and said, "I didn't want you picking up your clothes by yourself. Not when you're mine now." Gasps rippled. I turned to face my family, standing inches from the same spot where my dignity was crushed just hours ago. "This is Ethan," I said, voice steady, "my husband." Silence. The kind that makes your skin crawl. Dad's mouth twitched like he was about to say something but forgot how. Megan just stared at Ethan, then at me, and blinked like she'd seen a ghost. Mom cleared her throat, trying to salvage whatever image she thought she had. "Husband?" she stammered. You married him?" Ethan smiled politely, but it didn't reach his eyes. Yes. A private ceremony, last month. Her choice. She doesn't like big crowds, but I flew in today so she could say goodbye properly. He turned to me, brushing a leaf from my shoulder like I was royalty. Megan scoffed. You're seriously trying to say this? This guy is your husband? I'd ask if you need a background check, I said calmly, but I'm pretty sure your Google search history already told you the truth. Ethan raised his hand, and the SUV driver opened the trunk. A security guard in a suit stepped out and handed me a sealed folder. This is for your father, Ethan said. I handed the folder over without blinking. It's the deed to the old family house. I bought it this morning. Dad's jaw clenched as he yanked it open. Inside was a single-page document, notarized, stamped in bold letters, purchased, paid in full. Buyer, Brielle Callahan Walker. You can't just... He started, his face growing red. I already did, I said. And don't worry, I'm not evicting anyone. I'm donating the house to the Women's Recovery Center. Mom gasped. Megan stepped back. That's our home, she shrieked. No, I said. That was my prison. Now it's someone else's lifeline. Ethan slid his hand around my waist. You ready to go? One more thing, I said, turning to my dad. You said no one would ever marry me, that I was worthless, that I didn't belong. He didn't move. So let me ask you now, how does it feel watching your daughter become something you never believed she could? He looked away. I spent years trying to earn your love, I said, my voice steady, but my hands shook. But I finally realized I didn't need it to feel whole. Later that evening, Ethan's estate. The sun set behind the glass walls of Ethan's cliffside home. I stood barefoot on the warm marble floor, wine glass in hand, still wearing the same dress. I wanted them to see me, I whispered, not to impress them, just so they'd know they were wrong. Ethan watched me quietly, letting the moment breathe. I used to think my value came from pleasing people who hated me, I said. Now I know it's in standing tall, even when they try to break you. He walked up, took my hand, and pressed it to his chest. You're not standing alone anymore, he said softly. Tears welled in my eyes, not from pain, but from finally feeling safe. Cut to flashback. 3 years ago, I was 24, working 2 jobs, one at a diner during the day, another cleaning offices at night. My family laughed at me then too, said it was pathetic, said I should just marry a local guy and stop dreaming. They didn't know that one night I slipped on a spill at the corporate office I cleaned, and Ethan, the CEO, was working late. Instead of yelling, he offered me a towel and asked if I was okay. Why are you working this late? He asked. Why are you? I shot back. He laughed. That night, he asked if I'd sit for 10 minutes and just talk. And that's how it started. Back to present. As I looked out at the city skyline, the memory washed over me. You know, I said, smiling at Ethan, you didn't have to fly the jet to their lawn. He smirked. Yeah, but where's the fun in that? That evening, I walked barefoot onto the open balcony of Ethan's home. The warm air brushed past me, carrying the scent of salt and pine. I leaned on the railing, still trying to process what had happened. It didn't feel real, like the moment with my family had happened to someone else. Ethan joined me quietly, his glass in hand. You held your ground today. I smiled faintly. I had to. If I didn't stand up for myself this time, I'd never stop bending. You didn't just stand, he said. You walked right through fire. We stayed silent for a moment. Then I turned to him. Do you think they'll ever regret it? I asked. He shrugged. People like them don't feel regret, only discomfort when they're proven wrong. I looked down at my hands. I used to think if I worked hard enough, they'd see me differently. You were raised to believe love was something you had to earn. It's not. You were always enough. I looked up at him, and his words landed deeper than he probably knew. I don't know how to be okay with that yet, I admitted. You don't need to be, he replied. You just need to give yourself the permission to stop chasing their approval. For the first time in years, I felt my shoulders relax. Later that night, while unpacking, I found the old photograph they'd once ripped in half, a picture of me at my high school graduation. I had taped it back together and kept it hidden in a shoebox. I held it in my hand now, and instead of pain, I felt something different. I didn't need to prove anything to them anymore. I already had. The next morning, I received a message on my phone from an unknown number. We didn't know he was your husband. If you had told us, things would have been different. Mom. I stared at the screen for a full minute. No apology. No ownership. Just blame. I didn't reply. Instead, I walked into the kitchen, poured myself some coffee, and kissed Ethan's cheek. You all right? He asked. More than all right, I said. I'm finally done hoping they'll change. Good, he said. Because your new life just started. He handed me a small velvet box. Inside was a simple bracelet, engraved with one word. Enough. A week passed. Ethan had a conference in Chicago, and I tagged along, not as his +1, but as a partner. He introduced me to people as my wife, Brielle Walker. Not once did anyone question if I was worthy of standing beside him. They just saw me for who I was. One evening, we attended a formal dinner at a luxury hotel downtown. I wore a fitted emerald dress Ethan had picked for me, and as we entered the ballroom, heads turned. Not because of him, but because I walked in with my head held high. At our table sat a woman named Linda Harrow, head of a massive tech foundation. Halfway through the evening, she leaned toward me and said, Ethan says you've got grit, that you know how to survive storms. I smiled, surprised. I've weathered a few. I'm building a women's mentorship initiative, she said. We need someone who's lived it, not just studied it. Let's talk soon. That night, as we rode the elevator back up, I looked at Ethan. You told her about my story? I didn't have to, he said. She asked what makes you different. I told her you don't break. You rebuild. It hit me then. Everything I was once shamed for, being emotional, too stubborn, too ambitious, was now what made me powerful. Back at the estate the next day, I got a call from an unknown number again. This time, it was Megan. I just need 2 minutes, she said. Please. I paused, then answered. Make it quick. There was a hesitation. They're saying you embarrassed the family. Mom's crying. Dad's furious. I let out a short laugh. Furious that I finally stood up for myself? You bought the house and gave it away, Brie. That's insane. Number. What's insane was living in that house, being treated like I was disposable, and still thinking I owed them something. She went quiet. I didn't call to fight, she said. I called because I think you were right. That stopped me. About what? I thought if I stayed quiet, followed them, I'd be safe. But I'm still invisible. I exhaled. You made your choice. I know, she said. But maybe I want to make a different one now. I didn't respond right away. Part of me wanted to slam the door, but another part, the version of me that once begged for someone to see her, felt a sting of recognition. We'll talk, I said, but not today. After I hung up, Ethan found me standing in the kitchen, staring at the phone. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I said, but something's changing, and for once I'm the one deciding who gets access to me. His eyes warmed. That's my wife. 2 months later, the air felt different. Not because of the season, but because I had changed. I wasn't the girl who walked out of that house with trash bags. I was the woman now running mentorship calls with women across the country. Women who had been thrown away, ignored, dismissed. Just like I once was. One of those women, Jasmine, a single mom from Detroit, said during a call, "You don't talk like you read this in a book. You talk like you bled through it." I did. And now, I bled into something better. One quiet Sunday afternoon, while watering the plants outside, I heard a car pull up the driveway. It wasn't Ethan. It was my dad. He stood next to his dusty pickup, shoulders tight, eyes scanning everything, from the stone path to the tall glass windows behind me. I didn't move. "You have 5 minutes," I said calmly. He walked up, slower than I'd ever seen him walk. No booming voice, no anger in his tone. I wanted to see where you ended up," he said. I tilted my head. "You've already seen it. Remember? You were there when the jet landed." He gave a slight nod. "That day, I didn't expect it." "I know," I said. "You expected me to crawl back." There was a long pause. Then he looked at me, not through me, for the first time. "I don't know how to apologize for everything," he said, "but I know I treated you like you were small, like your voice didn't matter." I folded my arms. "Because you didn't believe I'd ever be more." He swallowed hard. "And I was wrong." I waited. He glanced down, then slowly back up. "You're stronger than I ever was. I didn't know how to love someone like you. You scared me. You still do." That caught me off guard. "You don't have to forgive me." But I needed to say it. I looked at him. For years I wanted these words. But I realized I didn't need them anymore. I was already whole. I gave him a nod. Not warm, not cold, just honest. "Thanks for saying it," I said. "Now go live your life. I've got mine." He walked away quietly. No last words, no scene, just a man leaving a house that no longer belonged to him. Ethan returned later that evening and found me smiling in the garden. "What happened here?" he asked. "Closure," I said. He smiled. "Did it feel good?" It felt earned. Weeks turned into seasons. The mentorship program grew. I spoke at events, shared my story not as a victim, but as a builder, a survivor, a voice for the unheard. And one evening, while looking out at the ocean, Ethan came behind me and whispered, "You know what I remember the most?" "What?" "The girl in the dirty uniform, standing in a hallway with her pride still intact." I smiled, resting my head against him. "She's gone," I said.